Hey guys, Ben here. Welcome to the video, welcome to the channel. This feels a little weird. For you, it's probably only been about a week. For me, it's probably been about 3 weeks. And you might notice I have a couple of additions. I have not been recording. I want to talk to you just a little bit about that. So this is the current progress that I have putting up the roof. And the reason why I have not been recording myself doing a lot of this work is it's just been really tough. We've had tropical storms, we've had a mix of some rainy weather, some windy weather, and it's just been a mess. But I will show you a little bit of what's going on here. Now you might notice this weird diagonal bracing. This is all just scrap wood bracing here, this entire horizontal piece. That's all temporary. I went ahead and finally put in both of my ridge boards, and I've got a handful of rafters that are tied in and they have the appropriate hardware on the top and the bottom. And then I went ahead and put in my rafter ties on 2 of them. Now the truth is there's going to be rafter ties very likely on every single one of these rafters. Technically that is code. There are ways to distribute that weight. If I maybe doubled up my rafter ties on every other rafter, I might be able to have small vaulted spaces, but honestly I'm just gonna put them in on every one, see how I like it. If it casts too much of a shadow in the space and I'm not getting the light that I want, I can probably go back and try to reconfigure this a little bit, but I'm gonna go with what's simpler right now because again, I'm working on my own. Doing a lot of this recording is incredibly difficult. It's just tough for me to be able to set up the camera while I'm going up and down ladders, while I'm in very precarious situations that frankly I don't really want to show on video.
Look away, child. Look away!
You see, part of this whole channel is that I really wanted to create videos where I feel like I have teaching moments, where there's something that I can show that is, yes, an update on the farm, on the homestead, on all of it, but also I have something to say to you that I feel might be educational, even if it's just informative, to say like, oh wow, he really messed up there. Maybe I should try doing something different. So with all of that said, the things that I'm doing to get these rafters up, I don't have a man lift, I don't have scaffolding here. I'm just doing some questionable things. That's all I'm gonna say. And it's not something that I don't even want to plant the seed. Let's start with the ugly. As you can tell, I busted open the foam here. I'm gonna have to close this in and maybe put some tape on here. We'll see what I do there. Unfortunately, what happened was I was in the middle of installing this rafter tie here, and that rafter tie fell, and obviously when it fell it just slapped the side of the wall here and it tore up the foam, which is very unfortunate. Another issue that I have, I'm going to try to get you guys up there. Hopefully you could see that, but basically you might notice that those rafter ties are installed, I guess, backwards. And I say backwards because under normal circumstances, it shouldn't really matter which direction you face those bottom rafter ties, unless, like in my situation, you plan on just leaving the ceiling vaulted. And now there's like these metal tabs that are sticking out, whereas if I had just turned those rafter ties backwards, those metal tabs would just be resting on the sill plate instead of jutting out into the vaulted space. I'll probably have to use a cutoff wheel and an angle grinder, or maybe just hammer them and bend them in. I'll have to figure something out with those because I really don't want to take all of them off. Half of them are nailed, half of them are screwed. Let's see what else. Oh yeah, up here what I ended up doing was this cross bracing that I ran all the way across, and I used these just to give it some extra support. Those are just some scrap 2x4s that I scabbed together, and then I put this vertical bracing in the middle as a temporary place to drop the posts on top, or I'm sorry, the ridge board on top of. And that mostly just gave me a nice stable, level place for me to go ahead and start installing each of these rafters. Keep in mind, once it's all tied in and everything's nailed together, it's going to be one solid cohesive piece. In the meantime, while you're trying to put individual 2x4s together and link it all up into this complex roofing system, it's like a string puppet. You're just trying to keep this thing held together just long enough so that you can stabilize it with all of the collar ties and rafter ties and the hurricane ties, and nailing everything down and making sure that all the walls are stable and properly spaced. And once you get all these little things all together just right, it becomes a solid structure. But until then, you need all this temporary bracing constantly, and then you're slowly building it up and then tearing it down. So it is an incredible amount of work for me to get this ridge board all the way up there without any sort of man lift or scaffolding. And so I did everything I could to minimize my ladder time. And what I did was pre-install all of the Simpson ties up there. So all I have to do now is slide the rafter in and screw it in. Once the rafter is screwed in at the top, I can reach the bottom much easier with the ladder that I have. It's just getting to that peak. That's really been the difficult part for me. But we're getting it done, just very slowly, and probably not very safe. This is one tip I'll share. You'll notice I have this I'm about to take off right now. The reason why that board is there is because if you have a board that is cut to the exact length that you need, keep in mind, as you're raising this up and pinching it on one side and then you're lifting up the other side to lift this ridge board into place, the diagonal of that distance has to be much longer than the actual distance you'll need once it's installed. So this is just a little piece I sistered on there to give me that extra length I needed so the ridge board wouldn't fall off of one side while I'm walking to raise the other side. It's just one of those things you have to think about when you're trying to raise these long, unwieldy boards all by yourself. Now, something that I hope I don't regret, I cut all of the rafter tails off. Now, the reason why I did this is because I'm going to attempt to use the perfect wall framing where the roof sheathing lines up with the wall sheathing, and I'll be able to tape that corner, and then I'm going to come back after and put some basically fake eaves or fake rafter tails. And that's going to increase the air tightness of this entire space. Another thing, hopefully the camera can pick it up. You can see a little bit of a shadow here. This currently is the angle of the sun up to the header. So in the summertime, these large windows are going to provide about this much light. The rest of this light will be provided by some of the polycarbonate roofing. Now, you may notice, or maybe not, great, a cloud came out just in time. The peak of the roof lands right about here, meaning this entire back wall is actually going to be shaded in the high heat of the summer. And I'm hoping that will be enough to keep this greenhouse cooler in the summer, preventing this entire back wall from getting any sunlight. In the winter, however, the sun will be lower and it should give us full exposure all the way to the back. In theory. But I think that's about it. I just wanted to give you guys a quick update, let you know the work is still going on. There are some pieces of this build that I probably won't be able to show, but I'll definitely be getting into more details once we're back on the ground and we're doing things like the house wrap and the siding, and we start installing the polycarbonate windows, and maybe even doing some of the roof sheathing and the roof paneling, because at least I'll have something to stand on when I'm up there. It's just the framing part it's just out of control. So as always, you guys be good, be safe out there, and I'll see you on the next one.